guys, this is going to be a video of me giving my thoughts on TNA, and I guess you can call it a response to WWEG86 and Gemni. If you guys haven't seen their videos on their opinion and thoughts on TNA, be sure to check that out. But me personally, I think TNA, when they first started out, they were known, and they wanted to be known as the alternative company. If you're getting sick and tired of, the same old entertainment garbage that WWE gave us, and all just the stuff that they're rehashing gimmicks and not using their proper stars, the same guys are always on the top. If you wanted to see something new and fresh, you would watch TNA Wrestling, and that's why I think that's the foundation, pretty much, I think TNA built on. They brought in a fan base that was like loyal WWE fans who were looking for a change in wrestling. They knew that the times were changing and WWE was not changing with the times. They were just, same guys always on the top, Triple H, Cena, and, those guys along those lines. Always on the top. They don't give the young stars a push. They want to see changes in the company, in the wrestling company as a whole. So that's why TNA, I think, got so popular in the first place, because they were the alternative. They built a smart mark foundation, and they were doing awesome. 2005 and 6 in their weekly pay-per-views. TNA was amazing. You knew and you thought that they would be the future of pro wrestling, and they still have very big, high potential of becoming that. It's just that over time things have changed with TNA. Like, they built a foundation, which is their fan base. They have their demographic ready, and but then slowly they started turning towards more of the entertainment side rather than just straight up wrestling, which is, I guess, turning a lot of people off, and it's affecting their wrestling product as a whole. But for you guys who don't know about TNA, and I don't know if Gemini has these DVDs or not, but if you want to know what TNA was really like back in the day, like the classic TNA stuff, there's the TNA Anthology Epic Set. It comes with 3 DVDs, Lockdown 2005, Victory Road 04, and Turning Point 2004. Their first ever, so Victory Road 04 was TNA's first ever 3-hour event, so you knew that has to be special in a way. This stuff is seriously just classic TNA stuff. The thing with TNA, that they gave every match on the card its own spot. You got throw together matches that WWE has right now. For Breaking Point, as an example, Kane versus Great Khali in a Singapore Kane match. Matches like that you don't care about, no one wants to see it, and it's just there to fill up time. Early TNA stuff, you didn't have that. Every single match had a meaning. Every single match had time on TV, the 1-hour deal they had on Spike, and they would build it up perfectly. You'd want to see the match on the pay-per-view, not mattering if it was the main event or it was the opener or anything in between. It was all prestigious. You wanted to see what would happen. And speaking of prestige, their titles, the X Division, perfect example. That's another thing that they built their foundation on, is the X Division. They separated themselves from the cruiserweights by saying there's no weight limit, there are no limits. And you had guys like Samoa Joe, who revolutionized the X Division by pretty much proving that a guy over 200 pounds can fly around in the ring and do stuff that Rey Mysterio can do, pretty much, but more technically in a way. So if you guys haven't seen Unbreakable 2005, I believe it is, the 3-way between AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe, it's the first time that a mid-card title was defended on a pay-per-view as the main event. And if you guys are WWE fans, if you guys can think of a time where WWE put the Intercontinental title on the line, the United States title on the line, or the ECW title in the main event of a pay-per-view, that you can, recent memory, maybe, I don't even think it's ever happened, but it was the first ever thing, and that's why TNA had such faith in the X Division. They knew that it would take them places, and that match was seriously one of the best matches I've ever seen, and it really put all 3 of those guys on the map, and they proved that night that they were the future of wrestling. They're the future of TNA, and that TNA is one company that WWE has to look out for, because they are their real competition. So over time, things happen between TNA, WWE, Voodoo Kin Mafia, BG James and Kip James pretty much taking stabs at DX and Vince McMahon. And you also had major jumps, such as, who's the biggest one was Christian, of course. He was in WWE as just a mid-card guy. He had a couple title matches, but, it wasn't anything big. He was in a triple threat match with Cena and Jericho at Vengeance, I believe. And he went to TNA and won the title, So they pretty much took a mid-card guy from WWE, built him up to be pretty much the guy who saved TNA, who really gave TNA that big push that they needed, a good guy who can carry the company on his back for a while, and Christian was that guy. He won the NWA title from pretty much being nothing but a jobber. I won't say a jobber, but Christian he didn't reach the potential he could have reached in WWE, and TNA gave him that opportunity. And that pretty much opened doors for a lot of young guys that Christian put over. And it pretty much, opened doors for lots of wrestlers just because of Christian making that jump. And of course, everyone will never forget Kurt Angle jumping to TNA. I think TNA's biggest pickup ever. That pretty much gave TNA Kurt Angle made TNA what it is today. He single-handedly, after Jeff Jarrett took his time off, Kurt Angle carried the company. He made, his debut match right here. I haven't even opened it. It's Genesis 2006. I've seen this match a bunch of times. It's one of my favorite matches. But the hype to this, it was definitely the dream match of the decade. Everyone wanted to see Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle, and we got to see it. And I was thinking if they wanted to make more money out of it, it was such a hyped match as for what it was, but they should have teased it a little bit to make the fans want it even more. And of course, a few got played out just a little bit, after their 4th or 5th time facing off. It got a little bit old, but no one will forget, the first 3 times. It was all 3 of them were just classics. The 30-minute Iron Man match. Of course, the infamous headbutt when he first debuted. And then you can talk about what TNA was then. So November 19th, 2006 to what they are now. Genesis 2000 and... what is this, 7? Yeah, so this is just year after. So within 1 year, this is the stuff that you had that went down. The main event for Genesis 06 was Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. 07 was a tag team match, Kurt Angle and Kevin Nash versus Sting and Booker T. It was the debut of Booker T, so I guess it was a good way to bring him in. I don't know if it was for the belt, of course, but they did end up losing, so it wasn't the best way for Booker T to come in. And just another, the first match was Samoa Joe versus Robert Roode. You had Motor City Machine Guns versus Team 3D. And then, those throw-together matches I was talking about WWE does. Here's one, TNA 2007, Abyss versus Black Rain. It's just stuff like that you don't have to see. And of course you had the ladder match, which was a classic between Christian and Kaz. Just another guy that Christian put over. So those are a couple matches from the 07 pay-per-view. And the 06 pay-per-view, you had Kurt Angle versus Joe, Sting versus Abyss, LAX versus AMW, AJ Styles versus Christian, R-Truth and Lance White versus Alex Shelley and Austin Starr, which is Austin Aries, who's in ROH right now. Just a big difference of what it was then and what it is now. They're going more on the entertainment side, and it's turning a lot of fans off. I'm just going to check how much time. I got a couple minutes. But yeah, their 2-hour deal pretty much, it put them on the map, but it didn't do as successful as everyone thought it would. I think they just have to keep working on, sticking to what they do best, and that is wrestling. And I know it's not good business, and they have to do the right business thing, so you can't really blame them. They have to, attract all audiences like WWE does instead of just focusing on one particular smart mark, 18 to 24 age group. So Vince Russo is another thing. Everyone thinks that just because Russo was writing for TNA for a bit, and I don't know if he still is now, that TNA did take a downfall. It's one argument, yeah, but I think TNA needed, someone who has experience in the company. And I think they should have picked up Paul Heyman, even Eric Bischoff. I think they're more of a smarter mind for a young company like TNA rather than Vince Russo, who is pretty much living off his past. He hasn't done anything recently that is too, mind-blowing. And I think if Paul Heyman was writing for TNA, it would be a whole different landscape. I think that they would be doing things that would make you tune into TNA and, forget WWE. Because for a long time, around WrestleMania 23 time, I was a bigger TNA fan than I was WWE, and then it kind of started shifting from there. So there's my TNA rant, thoughts. So leave yours, and I'll catch you guys next time.